All right. So this topic right here. So here's a quick question for you all. Has the dating game or marriage changed? Has it changed? Here's a question for you. That keeps coming up. Okay. This is a topic that keeps coming up. I figure, let's talk about it. Since everybody thinks it's changed. It has changed. The game has changed. Has it changed, really? Would you say the dating game has changed? As marriage in the 21st century, has it changed? Is it a different beast? Right? Right? Or it's basically the same. Right? This is how it works, okay? We're talking, people are having a conversation, and then there's a group of women who say, well, it has changed. The game has changed. It's not the same. You can't keep doing this. Guess what? I'm also part of them. I keep telling this young man, I said, we're not in 1963. We're not in 1963, okay? Something has clearly changed, right? There's another part of the conversation that we keep talking about. Can people change? Can people change? That's another topic, right? We'll talk about that. But here's the ultimate of everything. At the end of the day, I want to play this video, and then we'll come back and talk about it. There's only one thing that's constant in life, and that's change. Let's keep that at the back of our mind, and then let's get into this topic. I'm gonna play this video, and then we can come back and talk about it. Let's see.
Here's what we have to understand. The landscape of dating has changed a little.
The landscape
people have
of
changed.
dating.
Everyone talks about, people are so different these days. People haven't changed, they're the same.
All right, so he said people haven't changed, they're the same, but he said the landscape have changed. Over here, I say this all the time, I said context. The context obviously have changed, right? But people are people, right? And if you feel like people are people, like obviously social media is here, right? This video was uploaded about 5 years ago, right? So what do you think has happened in the last 5 years? Change, right? Yeah, constant. Change is constant. Oh, here's the problem with this conversation. I'll get to the problem with that conversation in a second, right? People say the dating game has changed. They're talking to me about change like they can monopolize change. Like when I was talking about marriage with respect to where my parents are coming from, that there was no change too. It changed at that time too. It's not just in your generation that things have changed, right? But let's keep going. Let's see.
Changed, they're the same. The landscape's changed a little bit. When I started out, the dating websites weren't huge.
When he started out, dating websites weren't huge. What is dating website today? Normal. Everyone is on the dating, not even website, app. You're on an app. You're on Tinder. You have Tinder on your phone. What is the other one? Bumble. What do you have out there, right? Cupid, some, right? I don't know what they are. I just know Tinder because it's the most popular one. I think there's some other ones out there right now, right? But clearly, it's more of a normal thing now. But think about 5 to 10 years backwards, right? It was weird.
They were still a niche thing. It was still a little embarrassing to go on a dating website.
It was embarrassing.
Now everyone's on Tinder. Everyone's on Bumble. Everyone's doing these things. And here's the problem everyone's up against. A landscape that looks like there's infinite choice.
A landscape that looks like the infinite choice, right? What I usually say the illusion of choice. People have illusion of choices and options. After all, I can jump on the internet and Google and find another guy. Let's see how he says it.
Perceived choice, because it's not the same as real choice.
Perceived choice.
Right? As a guy, you go on these things, you're like, oh my God, look at this buffet. There's so many people. It's not true, right? Perceived
it's not
choice
true.
Is what messes people up. Because perceived choice.
It's even worse today, more so than ever before, right? Swipe. Yes, interested. Swipe. Right? Is it real? Yeah. It's real in terms of its effect on the human brain, right? In terms of thinking you have choices. He says something else I want to...
Is when the guy who's thinking about breaking up with his girlfriend looks at 1,000 options on his phone and says, look at the amazing world out there.
Right. The moment he has an argument with his wife, his girlfriend, he jumps on an app, right? He says, like, I have options, I have choices. Why do I need to worry about this relationship when I have all these options, right? And ladies, right? So has it changed? Yeah, of course it's changed, right? But the human being himself or herself, have you changed? Not really. Yeah, the change you're talking about is a constant. From my parents' generation to my generation, it was there. From my generation to my children's generation, it was there. Every 10 years, there is what? Change. What is that? A constant. What does that mean now? Cancelled out. Same. Okay? Why do people say the game has? Why do they even come up with this sometimes? They use it as an excuse to exercise pride, unhealthy pride, arrogance, right? That's what they use it for.
Yeah. Right? He didn't have that 20 years ago. Right? He had a fight with his girlfriend and she went out and he was lonely. He had nothing, he had no one to talk to. Right? The landscape is different now.
The landscape is different. If the landscape is different, obviously there's something that we need to learn. Oh, by the way, if I'm an older person trying to advise people in this dating game and marriage, I need to learn the new landscape. This is why it's a terrible idea to run to your parents when you have crisis in a marriage. You have to be careful with that. They don't understand the landscape. They just don't. It's not their fault. They just don't know what they don't know. They're going to tell you that ile eko ni. That's what they're going to do. They're going to tell you, shove it up, deal with it. Or they will tell the other person that. And then they will say, okay, Motigbo, you are right. And then there's resentment sowed that you will harvest 5 years from now. It will be worse.
Perceived choice. There's the lack of empathy that is bred by looking at people through a screen. So now what do?
Lack of empathy. If all you can do is swipe numbers, right? Now you become less of an emotional human being. You think, but actually you're still an emotional being. So it's confusion at best.
We treat people worse because we can. Right? So, and you do it too. It's not just...
You get to treat people worse than you can if everything were normal. Because you have an illusion, right? But the reality is that you're still a human being. You will pay dearly for this behavior. But let's keep going.
Men, we treat people worse. We ghost people. Breadcrumbing is the new term, right? Right? Giving a little, giving a little, giving a little. We say things that are bolder than we would ever say in person.
All right. So when people tell me dating game has changed, I'm looking at this video like, okay, has it really changed? Which part has changed? The fact that you need to learn the landscape that you're in, learn the context that you find yourself in, especially as a man, which one has changed exactly? Because the landscape has changed, but the only thing you're telling me is that, yes, you need to learn the landscape. In that same context, in the landscape, the social construct still expects you to lead. Not only that, you want to lead as a matter of fact. Then you're telling me you're confused. I'm like, I understand why you're confused, but part of your confusion is that you think no one can teach you anything. That's the issue. That's what's going on. Pride. This is why I keep tracing everything back to pride and unrealistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations, you think you can swipe, and turn everything to exact science. That's unrealistic expectation. You're a human being. You will get caught up in your emotion. You just be angry after 3 months. Because after all this time, $200 per plate, about 25 different dates in the past few weeks. I'm making all the 6 figures, but I've spent about $10,000 on stupid dates. And then you get angry and you enter Manosphere and start cursing everybody out.
So what happens is men, at least on the surface, seem less likely to commit today than ever because of the abundance of options.
Women, illusion.
I believe en masse have accepted a lower standard because they've drunk the Kool-Aid. They've bought into this idea that men are...
Well, or worse, women are now saying, well, we've learned. We don't want to Understand, we don't want to accept less than standard anymore too. Well, the men are saying I don't want to accept less than standard, the woman is saying I don't want to accept anything less than standard, and people are saying no, you should never settle, but in reality they're actually going to impregnate each other and settle, and they're confused. There's confusion everywhere. Listen, the reason why I'm spelling this out for you is awareness. Now, half the battle is won when you are self-aware. When you had emotional intelligence on top of that, you won't last on the marketplace. I promise. You can't last, right? Because this people are. You remember all the options. You will become. Let's see what he says.
It's just worse now, and the landscape's just worse now, and they have to accept less. And I don't buy it for 1 second. And let me tell you why I believe that the key right now, the key to winning in love right now, the key to getting something most people aren't getting, 99% of people aren't getting, is to actually be higher maintenance.
Be higher maintenance, it says. That's the key to winning right now. Be higher maintenance. What does that look like? Remember, you don't want to settle. You don't want to settle. Is right. So that also has to be interpreted properly. If you're higher maintenance in the sense that, if you're higher maintenance in the sense that you are open to just reflecting what Ayala said earlier, self-reflect, taking full 100% responsibility of yourself. If you're higher maintenance in that level, yes, I agree. If you're higher maintenance in being delusional about your options without working on yourself, you will collect to. You collect really badly. You'll be deceiving yourself. Okay, you'll be deceiving yourself. So even that one has to be unpacked. It needs to be unpacked. So what is our conclusion here? Before I go into our conclusion here. Hey Tima, she says, I'm very much open for dating, but it's like I'm nowhere actively looking or trying. I'm confused at this time. I understand. Completely get it. We could talk about that more later. Completely get it. That's what we're talking about, right? I think it's because we're all aging into different options. Okay. That's another angle. I feel like God himself is going to have to give my hands in next relationship. You know, it really comes down to, self. Keep working on yourself, but please don't do it inside of the house. You have to get out, engage, socialize, network with other people. Okay. And in this time and age, you need to have profiles on those platforms. Okay. But you need to understand how it works, understand how most people use it. They use it wrongly, right? And you have to be careful. You can get catfished as well, but there are ways to protect yourself against that. But exposure, like anything else in life, right? But the first level of exposure you need to be engaged in is at your own professional life. Every event, you need to be at every event, engage, climbing the ladder. Don't let some lame man tell you not to climb ladder. It's 2023. Okay, climb ladder, engage in network, continue to be the best, go to school, take an extra class, get another extra associate degree as long as you're not getting school loans, if it's free, okay? Only if it's free, if your job is reimbursing it, go to the event, get some certification. Don't get school loans. Please avoid school loans. Thank you. Okay? But it's basically exposure in a way that you're building yourself as the primary thing, right? Listen, you can't last in the marketplace. You don't decide that I'm ready so you can come into the world. No. Let's go back to how you were in your teenage years when you were starting to attract young men in your early 20s, when people just naturally, what were you doing at that time? Whatever you were doing at that time, we need to go back to that. Okay. Now, with respect to the landscape we're in today, it's okay to have a nice profile on the typical social media platforms. Like, for example, at least Instagram, Facebook, network, being in groups and stuff like that, right? Of course, I'm not talking about a group where people are looking for husbands and stuff like that. I'm a little bit iffy about that because I still want it to be attraction at best, not a situation where everybody lump themselves and they are doing misery love company. I don't like that. It needs to be natural, okay? Because that's the only way it's sustainable for a long time. If it's something that seems forced, it will show in your energy and you will come off a little awkward and here and there, right? But that's a tip that I can definitely leave right there. But yes, in addition to, positioning like that will help God help you, Key says options that I had 10 years ago are not the same. That's not necessarily true. Okay, they're not the same in terms of the same types of people, but in terms, if you talk about numbers, that's feminist and manosphere talking points. Lose that completely. There are same number of people in your circles that you tend to interact with, at least by text messages. Okay, your family, friends, your people that you know that are in your circle. Now you're more homebody than when you were maybe in your 20s. I get that. You didn't club like you used to, but also most people were not wifing people at the club, right? People did, but that's not what they went there to do. They went there to have fun, right? So I wouldn't engage that statement too much because it's very dangerous. The truth is that you do have the same amount of healthy options. There's a massive increase in the illusion of options, what he was talking about, which is the perceived options on when you're swiping. But it's a certain type of quality that your online profile will attract, right? There is no reason why you shouldn't have a solid LinkedIn profile. You don't go there and say I'm single. It's just that the quality type of people will find you and they will nail it if you're single at that level. Man or woman, Instagram, Facebook, okay? At least LinkedIn and Instagram, right? TikTok, no, not necessary. Instagram, Facebook, where you can post nice picture every month, decent looking picture every month where people can see you in your lifestyle, a little selfie at a party here and there, whatever, just living life. Everybody want to be a part of that. Everyone wants to be a part of that. That's just how it works, okay? Right? And then take care of yourself, right? Take care of yourself. Make sure you're on a journey to be your healthiest self. Whatever that looks like or feel like, you need to be on a journey to be your healthiest self. It goes back to self, but obviously you can't do that inside of the house without an Instagram profile, okay? You need to have an Instagram profile, a LinkedIn profile. Instagram for the fun stuff, LinkedIn for the professional stuff. Continue to equip yourself in a professional world. Get to every event in your professional world and engage, right? Just engage people because we're social beings, right? And you won't last on the market, okay? Usually people that argue against this, they haven't even tried it, so you get it. But just try it, try 1, 2, or 3. Save this video and continue to revisit it. Put it out into a bullet point and see if you can try out some of those things over the next 90 days. You will definitely see a difference, starting with how you feel about yourself. And how you feel about yourself, guess what people are going to do with that? They will mimic it. They want to be a part of it. They want to copy it. They want to help you do more of it, right? They want to help you multiply it. That's the way these things work. Okay. So has the dating game or marriage changed? No. Marriage too. The landscape has changed, right? You can't be yelling and calling it masculinity. That's stupid, literally. That's being stupid. Let me call it out as what it is. It's just being stupid. Okay? I mean that with all the passion in me because I've seen people think and demonstrate and think yelling or assertive is what masculinity is. And then on the flip side of things, you have women saying, I want to be assertive. Like, confusion. Okay, no, it's not. At the end of the day, there's one thing that never gets old. Being kind, being received as kind, making people feel around you feel like they should come back around you, right? That will never get old. People only care about how you make them feel around you. Do they want to keep coming back around, or they're scared of you, or they don't know what to say? They don't know if they're going to offend you. They don't know what the next thing they're going to say to you that will offend you. That's how you move. Then you need to embrace all the results you're getting from that with your full chest. Okay. All right. Let's move on. I'll be right back.